everything in my life. Sunny days and starry nights that never end. You make me laugh, you make me cry, you make me come alive. I've come alive again. I've come alive. I've come alive again.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Celeste's Quest for Her Best Life. In this episode, we are going to be talking about Kwanzaa, but we are going to be talking about so much more than that with my amazing and incredible guest and friend, Lady Mari, who decided to join me for a very special interview, and she is just an incredible person. I can't wait for you to find out everything about this incredible lady. She is a senior. She's known as America's Sultry Senior, and she is also a cosplayer. She is a vampire. She is a former trapeze artist and contortionist with the Ringling brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. She has this incredible group of costumed people that she had run for 15 years called Lady Mari's Costume Walkabout. And she's going to talk about all of that with you. But first of all, I wanted to give you a basic introduction to the celebration of Kwanzaa. So Kwanzaa is an African-American celebration of life born out of an era of the civil rights movement and the black separatist movement of the 1960s. It was introduced as a means of preserving black culture and identity through African cultural traditions and symbolism, clothing, and foods. The celebration was first introduced by Dr. Maulana Karenga in 1966 to the U.S. as a ritual to welcome the first harvest to the home, as a direct response to the over-commercialism of Christmas, which would cause anxiety and even debt for poor black families and communities. The popularity of Kwanzaa has declined over the past few decades along with the black separatist movement. In fact, I had a very difficult time finding any of my friends coast to coast from New York to the South over here to California that celebrate Kwanzaa, and I just happened to notice that Lady Mari did have a celebration and was wishing everyone a happy Kwanzaa on Facebook, so I decided to reach out to her to ask her about her celebration. And everyone's celebration with any holiday is personal and usually different and may not follow all the traditions that go along with the holiday, which you'll find out and discover in her discussion about her celebration of Kwanzaa. So my friend Lady Mari will then go be explaining to you the 7 principles of Kwanzaa on which the holiday is based. But traditionally, during the 7-day holiday from December 26th to January 1st, families will light a kinara, just similar to a menorah, but instead of having 8 candle holders, it has 7. And it looks similar, but it has 7 candles instead of 8 for the 7 days of Kwanzaa. Often a table will be set with a mat that is called an mkeka, and on which the kinara and a bowl of fresh crops will be included. Usually corn is also included in this bowl. A unity cup that is often filled with wine or some kind of alcohol and then shared among the family. Probably not this year with the way COVID things is probably not sharing cups, but usually a unity cup would be included. Also an Nguzu Saba poster, which I will show you, the black and red and green flag or the bandera, and perhaps an assortment of African books and art that reflect African culture and community. Families may also choose to dress in traditional African clothing. You might see people wearing a kente or kaftans, or a dashiki or a gel, I don't know how to say it, galet or gelé, which is the head clothing, or other brightly colored African-inspired garments. Typically, a traditional feast that would be served on the 6th night of Kwanzaa might include things like collard greens or jerk chicken or fried catfish or macaroni and cheese. And if you're interested in finding a local business that is owned by a Black person, then I highly suggest the Felix's Barbecue with Soul. They do serve things like macaroni and cheese and collard greens and fried catfish, as well as other barbecue items. So if you would like to check out a traditional dinner, maybe that would be the best place to start here in Oceanside. Also, things like Caribbean fritters, if you know of a Jamaican restaurant. I think there's one over on Oceanside Boulevard that you might want to check out that has Jamaican food. Caribbean food as well would be inclusive. So that is all of my explanation on what Kwanzaa is. I can't wait for you to just jump into the interview that I had with Lady Mari. And just as an addendum, I'm going to let you know our conversation went way longer than we could possibly fit into my episode of Celeste Quest, since we do 30-minute shows, and our conversation went well over 75 minutes. So I am going to actually upload an unedited version of our conversation, which includes a lot of laughter, and I think you'll enjoy it, but I'm going to do that as a separate video as well. So thank you so much for watching Celeste Quest. I hope you enjoy this episode, and happy holidays to all of you. Welcome to my show, Lady Mari. And you go by Mari Lewis, you go by Lady Mari, you go by America's Sultry Senior. You also go by Shadow. You have a lot of monikers.
Because really, you need to reinvent yourself every now and then.
Now, the reason that I reached out to you is because I had noticed that you had posted something about celebrating Kwanzaa. And Kwanzaa starts the day after Christmas, and it goes until January 1st. First of all, when did you start celebrating? Did your family celebrate? And then what kind of traditions do you follow in your celebration, and what does it mean to you?
Well, it started in 1966, but I did not discover it until I really was in high school in 1972. No, my family knew nothing about it. I'm from African roots, so the concept of Christmas when I got here to this country was still something new to me. And the one thing that as I got older, I found out that it wasn't, and people will get me on this, that Christmas was not about the faith. It was about the presents. And I saw so many of people that were in my poor range of income, families going into serious debt to make sure they celebrated Christmas the way it needed to be celebrated. And at the time, I'm living with my mother, who is trying to support a teenage daughter. We didn't have that kind of money, but she still went into debt to give me my first Christmas with her. And it was kind of interesting because she actually broke down and cried when I told her, I said, I didn't go all this way, wait till I'm 14, 15 years old to live with you, to celebrate a holiday I know nothing about. I found out about Kwanzaa because I did want something. Now, Kwanzaa started because Blacks were trying, just after the Civil Rights Movement, they're trying to find out about their heritage. And this started off as a harvest festival from West Africa. So it's all about the harvest. It's all about the 7 days and the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And I love that. It has nothing to do with presents. It has nothing to do with religion. I got into it. I tried to do it, quote, traditional. Now, traditional was dressing in the Kwanzaa African clothing. It was wearing the hats and the crowns and etc. It was the 7 candle thing. I didn't have any of that stuff when I started. I'm still in high school. It's like anything else. You celebrate it the way that works for you, because what's important are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Now, if you don't mind, I'll read them to you.
Please, I would love to hear the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
All right, the first one is called umoja, and that is unity, which is unity of the family. Second is ujima. Ujima is a collective responsibility. Again, this is a harvest festival, so it's really talking about the tribe. All right, so the family, the tribe. Ujama is cooperative economics, which, being a harvest festival, it's about us pulling all of our collective fields together and things so that we can support the tribe. All right. Next one is Nia, it's purpose. We've collected, we've come together, we've got the elders. Now, what is our purpose for the next year? Right? Kumba is creativity, because it's a festival. We are celebrating a wonderful harvest, right? Family getting together. My favorite, that it took me a long time to figure out how to say this. Kujishaguria. Okay. Oh, yeah. It is self-determination of yourself, how you can be productive to the tribe. And then Imani, which is faith. And that is, I always celebrate that one the 7th, the last day, because it is about faith. Now you're going to go on faith that you're going to have a good harvest next year. You're going to have wonderful births in the tribe and et cetera and so on. And this is all based on West African culture. And that's what I've done through the years. And yes, I celebrate it by myself.
But I do notice that you have an accent. Where are you from?
I'm born U.S. I was
Okay.
born in 1955. Senior, okay. 1955 here in America. But again, what happened was that for the Black community, my mother could not have me with her and earn a living. It was a strife time. So what she first did was pass me to the family. Well, we had a unit. My father dead in Africa because he fought the war and etc. But I had a grandmother there who demanded her granddaughter. So at the age of 3, they sent me to stay with her. Long story short, I wound up having to come back to the U.S. At the age of about 12, maybe closer to 13, because unbeknownst to me until I got very, very much older, the only way that she got me to come to Africa and for this family that she was a domestic in was to promise them that I would be that family's indentured servant. So I was really brought there to be the forever servant of the daughter of that household.
I can't believe that even existed in your lifetime, that something like that kind of a transactionary relationship happened. And you were born in 1955.
But at the age of 12, the woman who ran the household decided she wanted to get me fixed. And so I wound up coming back to the States. Unfortunately, again, my mother could not take me. So I became a pass-around child. I went from relative to relative to relative to relative. And then Memphis, Tennessee, which I will tell everybody. I lived in Memphis, Tennessee during the reign of King. I was in Memphis, Tennessee when King was killed. But I would not change any time that I spent in Memphis, Tennessee because of the music. My life turned around when I hit Memphis, Tennessee and discovered soul music. Oh, yes. But even that had a short lifespan because right after King died, segregation came back threefold. And they were going to send us to a school that was not even on our map until King died. Suddenly, we were rerouted and said, oh, you're in that demographic for this school. And it was an all-Black school, high school, that they decided they were going to let up to 6th graders go into. And this school had the highest teenage pregnancy rate in the county. So I just told my mother and grandmother, I said, okay, if I go to this school, I'm either going to do 2 things, pregnant or dead. And I can tell you now, I'm not going to be pregnant. So I got to live with my mother, but by that time I was very close to 15.
You have such a fascinating history. We could probably spend more than an hour doing a show on you, just on that part of your story, really, honestly. Just on that much, but that isn't even beginning to tell us who you are, because that tells you a little bit about the roots of where you came from. But the fact about who you are, and I'll give a little bit of history, but you and I don't know each other very well. However, I used to manage a store, and the store was an oddities and steampunk shop. And I really want to get into, you were a trapeze artist in Barnum.
The Ringling Brothers, Ringling Bailey Circus. Mm-hmm. And that it was a mistake that I got it, but I will never turn back and say it was a life I loved. And it's a life that was good to me for 20 years.
20 years. What year did you get into this? Was it right after high school or?
Oh, no. It was 1984. Okay. And an audition came up. I had never seen a circus. I'd never been to a circus. And here I am auditioning for this circus because this girl wanted to go to it. And they wound up picking me, just long story short. And originally was showgirl. But I was already 2 ballet companies underneath my belt. I was very muscular, not very muscular, but sinewy dance type of muscular. And as you say, very flair. I love the showgirl aspect of the circus. As I learned, the body is going to develop for whatever the job it needs to do. And it was so nice to be in something where I wasn't looked at like an oddity because I wasn't fitting the iconic image.
Everyone kept telling me, you got to connect with Lady Mari. She's the person to bring people who are costumed to the events that I was holding at the store. And you showed up. I remember your outfit. You had white contacts in, you had your vampire teeth in, you had a massive staff, and you were dressed all in like grayish tones and white. I don't know if your hair was white or gray, but you just had this scary, actually, scary, dramatic persona that you had showed up in. And I was just like, wow, what is this character? She's amazing. And then you would bring these fantastic costumed people everywhere that you went, and you just had a lot of fun. And like you said, it's breaking the stereotypes down. It's so funny because when I used to run that steampunk shop, so many people had a stigma about steampunk. When I would tell them, I manage a steampunk shop, they said, oh, for kids? I'm like, how do kids can afford what we have in the store? First of all, most of my customers are well over 40, and they'll spend $700 to $1,000 on one outfit. So no, kids come in and wish they could buy one little thing. And I love that you promote people dressing up and promote having fun with your looks. So what is this VampXotica thing that you do? I'm kind of curious because I like vampires.
Well, I've loved vampires since the first Hammer film that I saw when I was in high school. I love Hammer films. Christopher Lee, all those folks, Frank Langella. And the thing that got me was that the vampire women were always so well dressed. They had wonderful locations. This wasn't those things of Dracula sleeping on a slab someplace, okay? And everybody wearing black, okay? And once I got into cosplay, once I discovered Victoriana, I love Victoriana, and that led me into my vampire. And then I made the decision that my vampire was going to dress well. That's all there is to it. She's going to be out there simply because most people don't see a chocolate vampire. Now, when I first started it, it was as Lady Shadow because that was my cosplay. But I had to, like I said, you have to reinvent yourself. The thing with Lady Shadow was that I found, you can tell I'm out there. I'm animated.
I like it.
I'm sort of like the chocolate Elvira, okay? And Lady Shadow was a little more demure because it was coming out of my trapeze, okay? And so I thought I got to pick a name that kind of tells people what I do without me having to explain it all the time. And next thing I know, I created VampXotica. And VampXotica is a vampire. She is a cross between Eartha Kitt, Mae West, and Jessica Rabbit.
Ooh.
Oh,
that
yes.
Is quite the combination right there. I love it.
And the thing about it is that I've always wanted to get back into performing. There was a time that I retired. So I'd say about the age of 55 was the last time I did my last trapeze performance. And up from 55 to 64, I was a corporate legal secretary paralegal. And then that's why there was Lady Mari's Walkabout, because you still have to have your outlet. Yeah. So I started Lady Mari's Costume Walkabout at an antique show over in Del Mar, big one. And
I've been to that one.
It kind of blossomed to the symphony. It blossomed to La Jolla Art Festival. As people started to call me to have my walkers walk because they come from all walks of life, all ages. There would always be a theme. And the entire thing about my walkabout for 15 years was that it's about getting all dressed up and having somewhere to go with friends. So that lasted 15 years. After the 15 years, though, like I said, it came 2018. What was my next adventure? I decided to become a pageant queen.
Now that's exciting too. So you already have a title. You just decided to get into pageantry in 2018, and you've already had how many titles?
I have 4.
4. Okay, what are your
Miss
titles?
Senior San Diego. I am 2018. I'm Miss Senior California for 2019 and 2020, and I am Miss Sapphire for the Lady Vegas International pageant. And then I created the Sultry Senior because somebody had to take it.
And I just want to circle back, and I know we're all over the place because there's too much. You have so much. You have so many fascinating details of your life. That's why it's not the Kwanzaa show; it's the Lady Mari show. And and I want to circle back to Ringling Brothers. You entered as a showgirl. How did you learn to become a trapeze artist? You mean you're swinging through the air like you don't care?
I love that phrase. I'm so sorry I'm not still doing trapeze because I'd use that, because there is a difference in trapeze. There is the flying trapeze. Now that is where you fly and you get caught And then there's what they call single or static trapeze. The difference is swinging trapeze always has a net. Static trapeze, which is what I do, doesn't use a net. So when I do my trapeze, you fly through the air with swinging trapeze, but you can still swing with static trapeze. You just never leave your bar.
Okay.
But you also never have a net. A little more mystery there, okay? A little more excitement there. And I trained in it just because of the fact you can learn things in the circus. It's any venue that you do, anything you do. If you really open your mind, you can learn something. My body loved trapeze. Now I was also ballet trained, so I was very stretchy. So she also happened to be a contortionist. So what I asked her was that I'd really like to learn trapeze and contortion. The one thing too about Ringling is that once you're a member of that family, you're always a member of that family. We're everywhere. You run into.
Are they still around?
Unfortunately, they closed in 2018, and when I was in it, just in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, it started at the 128th edition, 128 years by the time I was in. So by the time they ended, they were very over, close to the 200 mark. So that was a history that was lost. Most of us cried. A lot of us cried.
Of all of the experiences you have, is there just something that was maybe your favorite experience?
Yes, and I'd like to go back to it, which is my future project. And that was, I spent 2 years in Japan performing my trapeze. And it was the first time I've been out of the country for a long time. And it was a different feel being in a different country that looked at you. You were an oddity. I mean, I was an oddity, but it wasn't a bad oddity. It was something where they appreciated what nature had done.
I love the Japanese. I love Japanese culture. Okay, so I was naturally a blonde when I was a child. I dyed my hair black. I wear wigs a lot. And I had blonde hair similar to the color you have right now. And the Japanese I'd go into their shops and they would give me a trinket, like a gift, usually like a stick with like little kitties and little cherry blossoms and things like that hanging from it. And they'd hand me a gift and then they'd pet my hair. And then I would go, and then I went to the concierge at the hotel I was staying at, because my mom was a flight attendant for Continental Airlines. So she took me all over the world as a child. Mostly she flew to Japan, Germany, and France. So I went to those places the most. And I was like, why do they keep wanting to touch me? It's so weird. Like I wasn't used to being touched as a child by strangers, And he said, oh, because your hair is gold. And if they feel like if they touch it, that they could have some wealth and prosperity that'll come to them. But they have to give you a gift in exchange for that honor to be able to touch your hair. And so I'm like, okay, I'll put up with it.
There was this little kid in a shopping cart, little kid, and mom was looking at something. And I came around the corner and he went, I said, well, how you doing? Hi there. And I said it in Japanese because we were learning Japanese. And it was like, the eyes got bigger. And I said, well, you have a good day. And the mom came and she was saying, naising do itashimashite. And I looked at the kid and his mom rolled the kid away. The kid kept going. And I thought, okay, this kid's going to go back to his friends at the sandbox. And he's going to say, guess what I saw today? And it talked. And that made me so happy because my life has also been making sure that children know you can do this too. Don't be afraid of going after your dreams. Don't be afraid of trying something just because it's not what the crowd is doing. It doesn't make it a bad thing.
What I really like about you is that you are a person who is not afraid to literally sometimes step into new arenas as an example to others, to show them this is possible. If I can do this, you can do this.
You get to meet different people. That's the whole idea to me of life, is not just doing different things, but is meeting the people who are doing it. Because how are you going to know what that person's like if you're not going to talk to them? And it's amazing that as long as I've been doing Comic-Con, all the years I've been doing Comic-Con as a vampire, I will always get stories of someone telling me about boy, they remember you as a vampire. They were talking about you and da 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 da. And I just go, well, that's interesting because nobody talked to me.
You definitely know how to make an entrance, okay? You definitely know how to make an entrance. And you're unforgettable and so when people see me and I'm dressed up and I definitely stand out and make an entrance, the way that I do, and it makes people's day, there's a sense of joy you get from that. And I think some people might mix that up with an ego or vanity, and it has nothing to do with
that. No. And in these times, just what you said, that's what's necessary. I make sure when I go out, because I'm also a caregiver, but I make all my masks. So I wear my spikes, or I'll wear
I love your spiky
that have little eyes on it. Yeah. And put your face on. And like you said, even with the mask, sometimes I had a couple of days ago, I wore one of my spiked masks and I had my spiked glasses on. And this father, his 8-year-old daughter, wanted to tell me how much she liked my mask, and he gave her the permission to come to me and say, I really like your mask.
And those moments just make your day, don't they? They just make your day. They make you smile from the inside out, and you just know you've made their day. She's going to remember that lady in the mask that talked to me, and it's an amazing experience to see how people react. Just like when you guys were in your costume walkabouts, not only is it fun for you to dress up, that's one part. Just putting it all on, putting the whole thing together and going, look what I made. I made this character. I made this creation. But then the reaction from people, like. Yeah, you have to like the spotlight a little bit. You got to definitely like the spotlight a little bit to do it. But
when people ask you things like, oh, can I take a picture? You betcha. That's why I dressed up.
I feel like you're going to keep doing this forever, aren't you? You're going to keep dressing up. You're going to keep creating your characters. Are you going to stop? Do you have any intention?
I'll probably be at the pearly gates, and I'll be the one wearing, a Victorian outfit, a hat with feathers in it, rings, and my dragon lady nails. And if they tell me I can't get in, all hell will break loose.
So speaking of going forward, what's next? What's next for you?
VampXotica is now going to, excuse me, and don't be insulted, I'm going to sing.
Ooh, I'm not insulted by other singers at all. What are you? You're going to be a singing vampire, okay?
Yes. So, yes.
What kind of music?
I have been working on some songs and trying to get music videos together, getting the look down. And like I said, with that cross between those three ladies, Eartha Kitt, Mae West, and Jessica Rabbit, I think that it would be an interesting performance. So that's how I intend to go into the afterlife, just representing, telling people it's okay. Oh, that's what you want to do? What's stopping you? Don't listen to what they say. If it's not something you're hurting somebody, if you can afford to do it, if it's free, just go out there and give it a try. Don't do hindsight. I loved it when you decided that you were going to go and pursue your singing career. I was in the background just going, bravo.
So I'm so grateful for you being on this episode and for sharing. We go way beyond Kwanzaa, way beyond Kwanzaa.
Yes, and thank you for having me. Absolutely.
What are kind of some of the thoughts that you have going into this Kwanzaa season?
This particular Kwanzaa, as much as I don't use the word blessed, I'm using it a lot for this one because I am in that danger demographic of being over 65 and over, but yet I have not been sick. I have had the opportunity during this time to help seniors who lost their caregivers. So when I go into Kwanzaa, blessed is the word I'm using a lot. I have a roof over my head. I have transportation. I have good friends. Disaster is when you find out who you can depend on. And this is a disaster.
Choosing to make the healthy and wise decisions, but also choosing to continue to live. We can't put life completely on hold. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. And you might not have tomorrow. And if you don't enjoy what you have right at this moment, tomorrow's not promised. So you can't really put anything on hold, but at the same time, the whole world's on hold. So what can you do? You have to look at what are my options? Where can I give? Where can I help? Where can I be of service? Who can I... Yeah. And that's what I focus on too, is where can I be of service? And one of the first things that I thought of when everything got shut down was, I'm an entertainer. I got to keep I got to bring joy to people, find a way to continue bringing joy and healing and happiness to people in a safe way. And it's bringing joy. And that's all that really, really matters. As an entertainer, I'm entertaining. I'm doing my job.
That's it. You're still entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I know when
positive.
I do my VampXotica, same thing. I'm on video and I say, now this is my stage. It's bringing smiles. You are a wonderful personality. And thank you so much for this opportunity to be on your show.
Thank you for all.
Two words, one and the same. Both are those from whence we came. One would have darkened his harmony, the other light and melody. Two words, one and the same. Two words, let's erase the boundaries. Two words, follow our dreams, see where they lead. Two words, one and the same. Now in the dark their lives are good, and in the light the devil once stood. The good, the bad, a balance of the two. Darkness and light reside in you. Two words, one and the same. Two